This is going to be a look at the Giants' usage of Saquon Barkley in an attempt to look at about 40 of his touches so far in the 2022 season and determine if there's any patterns or anything that we can use to be predictive as fans. You know, the coaches would have already done their film study. Generally, this is a Ravens channel. If you're watching this and you're a Giants fan or whatever, just understand that. First of all, it's good for me to see him back playing at this high of a level. Like explosive, dangerous, threatening the defense on every play. I mean, every time the guy touches the ball, it looks like he's one broken tackle away from taking it 40, 50 yards. Multiple 20-yard plus runs, multiple 40-yard plus runs or plays this season. What I'm going to do in this video is separate his runs or his touches into personnel groups. So the first one I'm going to do is 11 personnel, and then we'll do 12 and 13 personnel. And the final one we'll do, I have it labeled 21 personnel, but really it's when the Giants and Brian Daboll do Wildcat stuff, where they split Daniel Jones out wide, and they put Saquon Barkley in the backfield with another running back, and he meshes and either hands the thing off or keeps it, all right? So a couple of things I have noticed. They're running him into the boundary a lot, which is evil, and it's really cool. So, you know, if you think about 11 personnel, which is the first set of plays I'm going to show, you typically are going to have the nickel defender, fifth DB, whether it's a safety, slot corner, whatever, you're typically going to have him set to the field. So by running Saquon Barkley, their best player, their best athlete, the guy with the most big playability, by running him into the boundary a lot, and I mean a lot, they're really forcing the defense to make some tactical decisions, and in some cases, possibly forfeit better angles and numbers to the field to help out some of the lesser talented players. And with the receiver situation they have there now with so many injuries, it's got to be something that's constantly in the coach's mind for the Giants. How can we use Saquon Barkley to get other guys open, to let other guys make some plays? So what we'll do first is we'll look at some 11 personnel plays. Now, I have data off screen that you guys can't see that has the down distance formation. This is 11 personnel. This is their down play. Some people call it belly. And it's typically out of 11 personnel. You get motion constantly from left to right. And what that does is, maybe it pulls a defender across, maybe it gets some kind of rotation by the secondary, and then they're attacking you where? Back into the boundary. Here's the hash. So this is the boundary up here, the short side of the field, and then here's the field down here. Even though the NFL hashes are thin, close together, it's still a concern. It's a cool play. It's an off-tackle play. This one hits big. Of course, Saquon Barkley fumbles at the end of it. It's a great play by the corner for the Titans, but I suspect that that's why you're not seeing some rotation stuff, some movement, because really all they have backside here is a tight end in terms of a pass threat. Daniel Jones is under center. So it's not like Daniel Jones is going to mesh with the running back like out of the gun and keep the ball down into the boundary. Threatening to the boundary with your premier athlete, it's not a new thing. It's just, it seems to be something that Daboll and the Giants are doing so consistent to put you in a bind. Another example of the down play, under center, one back, 11 personnel. Here's the tight end to the boundary, motion from left to right. I have multiple instances of this play, just so you know. Watch this safety be really late reading this tight end on the run block. There's the run block read by the tight end. We'll slow this back, and you can look at the safety. He's just too late in reacting to this. Now look at Saquon Barkley. He's going to be difficult to tackle anyway, but that's a down block. That's a run read to you. You should react. You can see this corner's already reacting, right? This safety's still flat-footed. Then he puts his foot in the ground finally. 2 false steps, if you ask me. Creates a bad angle. Saquon Barkley, like 74, 75-yard gain. Again, I'm a Ravens fan, but how can you not root for somebody like Saquon Barkley to make plays? I'm not going to be rooting for him Sunday, but I love what they're doing with him, man. I love how they're utilizing him. The Titans are in the wrong look here, stemming. I think that's Bud Dupree inside, just giving up the edge. It's not like it's a horrible tactical decision. It's now week 6, so I have the benefit of having seen this play 8, 10, 12 times. At this point, week 1, the Titans have personnel under center. They're threatening you to the boundary. Same formation here, except this time, instead of motioning the receiver all the way across, check out what he does, and I'll kind of break this down a little bit. I think I got the end zone angle on this one, maybe not. Look at the cutability of Barkley. This teaching tape, but how do you teach some of these bounces and cuts through here? So one of the things they're doing is instead of the tight end, down blocking and then pulling a guard and kicking this receiver motioning all the way through and running that down play back to the tight end side. Now what they're going to do is the tight end is going to base block the outside linebacker or the D end, and that receiver who was coming in that like slow, short motion, he's going to insert into the formation and pick up the front side safety. It's called a Jill ISO. So the tight end is blocking out, and the receiver who motioned down is inserting into the formation, trying to go block a safety. Now, the safety does a good job, seems to have attacked him very well. They're also getting some penetration from, I think, Simmons, but Barkley's the type of guy that he can just create angles where there are none. Beautiful play. The run schemes out of 11 personnel, again, threatening, away from the nickel defender. Here's the same play to the other side later, I think later in the game. I could be wrong. So it's the same thing. You got the receiver motioning down, and instead of going all the way across and then running the down play, here with the center and the guard pulling, you're getting a Jill ISO play. The tight end is trying to base block the D end. The receiver is stepping inside to go get the safety. Now you get a great job by this left guard, who I think is a rookie from NC State. I'm not sure how much he's playing at this point. I did a little video on him on Twitter after this game, this week 1 game, because I just thought that some of his run play blocking was so impressive. I understand they have a veteran at left guard. This video is about SAQUON Barkley and how they're using him, generally threatening people to the boundary. Now, another thing. Now they've got the formation to the boundary. So here's the ball. The boundary, the short side of the field is down here. The field is up here. So they're forcing you to get your nickel defender down into the boundary. What do? Run a receiver here, give you a vertical threat, and then SAQUON Barkley sits in the middle underneath. It's a short game. It seems to me like their coaching staff has something in their mind, a preconceived notion about how the field and boundary, about how people relate to field and boundary in the NFL. And I may be wrong. I've obviously never spoken to those guys. This is really my second film study, to be honest with you, about SAQUON Barkley this year. It's not like they don't attack to the field at all. Watch this linebacker read this screen to the field. It's trips right A-gun out of 11 personnel. Even when you read it right sometimes, SAQUON Barkley just makes people miss and does things that he's probably been doing since he was like 6, 8 years old. He's an amazing player. Like, this is a Hall of Fame talent running back, if you ask me. It's not fun as a fan of the Ravens to go up against a guy like this, but it is fun. Like, it's fun to watch your team and your guys match up against someone like this, especially against a coach who does a great job of trying to properly utilize him and threaten your defense, in a way that is downright evil, like I said earlier. All right, forgive me. Some film against Green Bay had some drops. I think he had 2, and then had 1 throw that was off target. This is a screen they're setting up to the right. The ball's in the middle of the field, so there's no field and boundary in terms of what they're trying to do. But they're getting 2 receivers crossing here, and then Barkley going in this direction. So what they're trying to do is get some defenders, whether they're in man or zone, to hedge this way. Get Barkley out here to the right. Get some pulling linemen out there and get hats on hats. Give Barkley some running lanes, some cutback lanes. They're unable to get him the football in a manner in which he can catch it. Missed opportunity. They had a couple of missed opportunities like this. And they also, Green Bay, I think, did a great job of understanding when Barkley is to the side of the trips, which I call A-gun, that he presents a unique threat in terms of a screen. Watch what this corner does on this read, and then we're going to switch to a different personnel group. I didn't really want this video to be longer than like 15 or 18 minutes, so I'm going to try to spend like 6 minutes, something like that, on each personnel group. 23 reads it. He's playing like this little trap coverage. All right, so he's inside 2. He's not really splitting the difference between 1 and 2. He's just inside 2, and the safety's getting off here. He's just looking for Barkley, looking for any kind of short pass. Great play, loss of 4. How often can you do this? I mean, I don't know. I believe that it's second down. It's third down. My apologies. Third down and 12. How often can you do this? I'm not sure. If you're the Ravens with somewhat depleted secondary at this point, in terms of not having Marcus Williams, Kyle Fuller being out for the year, but everybody's dealing with injuries. The Giants have a ton of injuries at receiver, so it's going to be an issue on both sides. Okay, we're going to switch over to a different playlist. So got to get a placeholder. If you're interested in supporting any of my work, whether you're a Ravens fan or anything else, you're welcome to join my Discord and Patreon. It's $5 a month, or become a channel member on YouTube. Consider supporting just to help me try to create more work, try to create more content, excuse me, that people would appreciate. All right, we're going to get to 12 personnel groups now. So you got 12 personnel, 2 tight ends down here, 2 receivers up here. So I call this twin wing. Twins to the top side, wing to the bottom side. And they're going to run the flood to the field. It's almost like sometimes when they give you an extra player down here, an extra tight end or trips to the boundary, it's almost like bait. They're coming back to the field to attack you to the field. It's a flood concept, I believe. I would call it a flood. 7-yard gain to Barkley seems like it's inconsequential, but I love the concept. You're getting number 1 out like that, number 2 on a vertical, and then Barkley kind of running out into the flats. It's a flood concept. Forgive me if those lines are too big, make things confusing. You can see you got a high route option and then a low route option. If there was a curl flat defender sitting in here, you're trying to put him in conflict. And in this case, Jones gets the ball out to Barkley pretty quick. 12 personnel is going to elicit a base defense from the Ravens. So when I say base defense, like base 3-4 or base 4-3, depending on what they're choosing to be in, I suspect that the Giants are going to want to be in 11 personnel more often than not. But I know that their wide receiver issues could contribute to that. So 12 personnel probably gives them option 2. Unique play here. You got a split zone with a hide concept off of it. Hide concept is, I'll explain it in a minute. So here's the split zone. And the Bears do a great job of this. They kind of overwhelm the Giants at the point of attack. So split zone, all the offensive line, working this way. This H-back tight end going back across the formation, presumably to kick someone out, sometimes cut them. Simultaneous to that, you got the quarterback open in this direction and this tight end running out into the flats. So what they're trying to do is maybe pull a D end, maybe pull an inside linebacker. So they're trying to pull someone with that tight end, pull them out of the box, maybe pull a safety, depending on who's responsible for that player in terms of coverage. And then on any cutback by Barkley, try to open up a bigger cutback lane and really threaten the defense. I think this offense is immaculately designed, and I think they have ways to threaten people to the field, to the boundary, to the strong side, to the weak side. I think it's a serious threat for the Ravens' defense, even though the receivers are, the receivers have put them in a precarious position. 12 personnel again, different formation. This is Trey. So now you still have the 2 tight ends to the left, but one of the receivers is down here to the left as well. So we would call this Trey, and it's under center. Again, where are they running? To the boundary. 19-yard gain, Saquon Barkley. It's a pin-pull zone, if you ask me. And the center does a great job. It's kind of reminiscent of the things that Tyler Linderbaum does. I think I'll give you the end zone angle on the next play. There's the center right here. We'll back this up a little bit so you can see what he does. Because they've got a one technique or a shade, the guard's going to go down on the shade or the one, and the center is going to wrap to the weak side inside linebacker. And Barkley's just going to wait a second for that to happen, cut inside of it, boom, 19-yard gain. Huge seams, man. The O-line does a great job. I'm not sure. A couple of friends of mine that pay attention to the entire NFL a little more than I do have talked about, how people have a notion that the Giants O-line is this big, strong, nasty group, and they certainly look like it at times to me. This is a great job. Again, down block, pull, and wrap. It's essentially log, but it's a pin pull. And Barkley, just because he's so quick and agile, cuts inside here and then jumps it back to the outside. I don't know. Is he the best running back in the league? It's hard to imagine somebody being better than him. I know there's tons of guys out there. So, all right. So same personnel grouping. 12 personnel. You do have a receiver off screen to our left. I think I'll give you the all 22 after this. And they just ran it over here. Right? I showed you the scheme, down, pull, log, or wrap with the center. And now where do they run it? To the other side. Like I said, evil. It's not something that looks like fun to deal with. This is why NFL defensive coordinators get paid a lot of money, the good ones anyway. And why once they get to the NFL that they pretty much stay there in some capacity. If they're talented at it, man, I would not want to be involved in the amount of work trying to deal with the way they threaten you with Barkley to either side, strong side or weak side. And I haven't even started to talk about Jones keeping it off the boot. I will show one play here in a moment from that I wanted this video to be, like I said, 15, 18 minutes. Looks like it's going to be in the 20-minute range. So if you appreciate this content, Ravens fan, Giants fan, whatever, please let me know. This is the all-22 from the same view, same angle. So now they've kept the safety backside, even though it's Trey, tight end, and then receiver down here. They've kept the safety backside. Why? Because Barkley hit him over here like 2-3 plays ago. Right? That weak side zone pin pull play that I showed you. Strong side, off tackle. He bounces it for 9 or 10. Another split zone concept, very similar to the one I showed you a couple plays ago, except it's in the opposite direction. So the last one I showed you, all the line was working this way. This H-back kicked to the right, right? This time, all the line's working to the right, and this H-back tight end is going to kick to the left. You get a really violent stepping down of this DN, kind of takes himself out of the play, but he's taught to step down and then creates a huge lane for Barkley to bring it back. Ends up being a 12-yard gain. Incredibly powerful runner. Giants fans should consider themselves blessed. All right, last run concept out of 12 or 12, and then we'll kind of fast forward to 13 personnel, is duo or base. So it's typically characterized by like a double team on the defensive tackles and then forcing the linebackers to kind of pick a hole and letting the running back. It's very similar to what Le'Veon Bell used to do a lot of with the Steelers 6, 8, 10 years ago, something like that. Get downhill, hesitate for a second, and then pick the lane opposite where the inside linebackers go. 6-yard gain. All right, let me get a placeholder up here so I can get to some 13 personnel stuff. All right, here we go. So you've got 13 personnel now, 3 tight ends to one side, and then 1 receiver backside. You've tried to defend Barkley so much, they're going to give you some eye candy, pull the left tackle, fake to him, and this is easy. You know, Daniel Jones is athletic enough to scramble and make plays that aren't scripted, that aren't structured for him, but this here is way too easy. So they're going to give you a lot. They're going to give you a lot in terms of run game to the strong side. They're going to give you the threat of running the inside zone back here. Maybe they pin, pull it. Maybe they run stretch backside. That's like the Titans stuff, like the Titans used to do. And in this case, Jones is going to keep it once you're set up for the boot. Incredibly threatening offense. All right, last set of plays that will show you. This is meant to be like a primer, a preview. I do a live stream on Saturday mornings for anyone to watch, Ravens fans specifically, though. It's meant for Ravens fans to kind of preview the game, talk about the matchup a little bit, and give you some speculation on my part, hopefully a little bit educated speculation. One thing I didn't show you is where I get the data from. Let me show you guys now. Hopefully this shows up. All right. Hopefully that shows up in a way that is attractive, and I know there's a lot of text there, so forgive me. But this is the date. I think I got 37 touches, so 37 times that Barkley's touched the ball. You can see the column all the way to the right. Player, Barkley, is all of these. And then the one that's like 80% of the way down is Jones. That's the boot for the touchdown I just showed you. Okay, so we're now on the last 6 or 7 plays, something like that, which will be Joker's Wildcat type stuff. So anyway, this is where I get the data from. I'm not just making it up. I'm actually looking at the personnel groupings, the down and distance, naming the formation, which is what you see, formation, and then backfield. Actually, that formation column's a little bit cut off. It needs to be expanded a little bit. The strength, the result, run, pass, et cetera, the play concept, which that one looks cut off a little bit as well. So you can see that there's actual real data behind this. This is not me just speculating as I watch this one time through. If you're interested, I can post that document up and you can save it. All right. So here we go, 21 personnel stuff. A little bit different. Now, Barkley and another running back. I don't know if that's Brieda. I know he's a talented player too. I'm not sure what his number is, but this is a pain. So it's pro twins, but now they're running like almost like a mesh to Barkley running the drag under here. And then this isn't really another drag. This is kind of like maybe a screen if they're running man. So they're trying to wall off the defender who might be running with Barkley. In this case, they're zoning it. Barkley ends up wide open for a 41-yard gain. I can only imagine how it feels for Giants fans, like to lose a player of this caliber for the better part of 2 years, I think, and then him to come back and be able to show this type of ability. We as Ravens fans can kind of sympathize, because we had so many injuries last year to talented players that seeing some of them come back now and contribute is a whole lot of fun. So this is the same play, just so you can see the all-22. This tight end's kind of going to run a little bit of a screen rub. I don't think he's running this route to get the football. I think he's running this route intentionally slow just to free Barkley up over here. But look, they could run the screen over here to Barkley too. They could run the hitch screen, right? Pull one of these tackles, get them out in front. So it's not like this is entirely predictable, but it is 21 personnel. I suspect that 21 personnel is a by Barkley there. All right, the real threat out of 21 personnel is Barkley in the backfield and Wildcat type stuff, because he's going to put the ball in the other running back's gut. This is actually 3 running backs, I believe, and maybe give it like he does in this case against the Bears, or keep it and run to the other side. I don't think he's reading anything. I think this is all called. But look, if they're practicing it, there's got to be times where they ask him to read it if they think someone's playing it well. And what's the reality of it? You gotta line up off this quarterback. You do. You can't take him out of the game before, in the huddle, because then the other team's going to know. Now, the Bears are obviously selling out to stop the run here. They got 9 guys in the box. They're just matching numbers. And you've got a backside inside linebacker who's staying with Barkley, which I'm sure is what he's coached to do. Makes sense, right? It's a good tactical decision. They run this power sweep. I'm not sure if this is a giveaway or not, this tight alignment by the receiver. So when I say power sweep, I mean they're pulling an unbalanced tight end. So when I say unbalanced, they've gone, I call it jumbo. So this is a tight end right here. And then it looks like this is a tight end. So this should actually be 22 personnel. And then they've got 1, 2, 3 linemen over here. So it looks like to me they've taken the left tackle or the left guard and they've moved him over to the right side. And then, like I said, evil. They're running the sweep back to the other side against you. This is terrible to deal with. This is why defensive coordinators sleep in the office and don't go home, because they're trying to figure out ways to stop guys who do this stuff. Really well-designed offense. I see why so many people have great things to say about Brian Daboll. I hope I'm not mispronouncing his last name. Hopefully I give you the end zone angle of this one. Yeah, I do. Okay, so tight end number, 82. This is mischaracterized as 21 personnel. This should be 22, because you have 2 tight ends, and then here's your 2 running backs. Daniel Jones is off screen to our right. The tight end and the center are going to pull. That's why I call it power sweep. Tight end's going to pull. Presumably you're going to get a pin there, a pin down here, and a pull. They're just trying to get extra numbers out there, give SAQUON Barkley another lane to choose from, and there it is. That's how talented he is. That's how easily it can happen. Great effort by 31. Almost falls. You see 31 almost fall over the center's foot and then stay with the play. If there was one of the games that I'd like to go to this year, it might be this one, just because I've never been to that stadium to watch a football game. I actually went and watched a soccer game maybe 6-8 years ago, something like that. A friend of mine had tickets to I think England came and played Colombia. Can't remember what year. So sometimes he gives it. So they're leaving this guy unblocked. So maybe he is reading it, because look at SAQUON's face mask. I mean, he's looking right at him. So maybe he is reading this. That means they have to spend significant amount of time, in drills with him doing it. Certainly looks good form-wise. Look at the foot. Watch the right foot. I guess that's Brieda. Look how close they are. They certainly look comfortable to me doing this. So he certainly could be reading that one. Gives it, almost gets a touchdown. Last 2, I think this one and then one more, I believe, is a touchdown. So again, you got 2 running backs back there. Now you've got the quarterback over here, tight end offset to this side. So I think you actually have 21 personnel, 2 running backs and 1 tight end. QB dart log. So dart indicating that the right tackle's pulling this time, and it looks like he's leading. So that's why we would call it log instead of a kick. Bears inside linebackers do a pretty good job. Last one, same formation I just showed you. Bunch, tight end, and they just, they had the back on the other side. Let me go back and show you this. So this time the bunch is on the left, the tight end's on the right, and then there's the back on the left, right? So the back is going to cross his face, he's going to ride, and then pull and go back the other way. Now, the back is on the right, so if you were going to read it, the back would have to cross his face here. That's not what happens, though. They run the power sweep. Same play I showed you, I think the second one out of this set, and Barkley bounces it. They just got numbers. You can't line up. You can see, look, they're not lining up to Jones at all. I'm not sure. At some point, are they going to throw the screen to Jones? Maybe not. Maybe they're going to try to get Jones out here and block and let the slot run a little screen because they've got numbers. It's 3-on-2 over here. I don't know if they ever actually have done this. I don't pretend to have watched every single Giants play this year, but I've watched a significant amount. If you're a Giants fan or someone who's watched them a lot, you can let me know if you agree or disagree that it sounds like I've watched a lot of the film. I wanted to show you guys this because I thought there were some patterns using him to run to the boundary, number one. Number two, a lot of either pin schemes or a lot of down kick schemes. So a down block or a pin, whatever, it's same concept. And then someone pulling and wrapping or pulling and kicking, giving Saquon Barkley the ability to read the block, cut back, bounce it like you just saw on that touchdown run against the Packers. Interesting team, interesting threat for the Ravens. The Ravens are kind of helped a little bit by the Giants receiver situation. I think Shepard's out for the year. Galladay's out. I think there's one other guy who's injured. So certainly, they're Kadarius Toney. I'm not sure if he's going to play Sunday or not. But so certainly they're a different threat in terms of the receiver position. But this is the guy that you have to figure out a way to limit or slow down. 530 yards rushing so far in 5 games, 97 rushes, 18 catches. So you're talking about 21 or 24 touches a game between the run and the pass game. That's a pretty high number. I'm glad that he's getting the touches, getting the usage so he can show his talent. I just hope the Ravens are able to figure out a way to slow him down Sunday afternoon. Let me know what you guys think of my thoughts, my breakdown of each of these plays and concepts in the comment section.